Good afternoon and welcome to another edition of Dodgers Dogs as part of the Dodgers Daily Network. My name is Austin Brubaker. I'm going to be your host this afternoon. We've got a little bit of news to talk about here on this Memorial Day. First off, happy Memorial Day to everybody. A huge thank you for everybody who has laid down their life in military service for this country. I want to talk a little bit about the Los Angeles Dodgers and some of the news that has broken out today, because obviously Dodgers have made a pretty massive move. Kike Hernandez is back with the Los Angeles Dodgers. This was expected. He was eligible to come off of the 60-day injured list today, or I believe it was yesterday, either yesterday or today. Kike Hernandez was eligible to come off the 60-day injured list, and as a result, and because he was ready, Kike Hernandez has returned to the Los Angeles Dodgers. He will be in the starting lineup, batting ninth tonight and playing third base. A couple of updates as far as some of the injury concerns that are going around. It sounds like Wednesday is the current temporary plan for Max Muncy to make his return. Tomorrow, left-handed pitcher, they want to give Max Muncy an additional day off. We'll see if he is able to come back on Thursday, or Wednesday, I should say, or if this drags on a little bit longer. The hope is to get Max Muncy back into this lineup as soon as possible, but the Dodgers as an organization want to make sure that he is healthy and ready to go. Kike Hernandez is healthy and ready to go, and now he is back with the Los Angeles Dodgers. He will be playing third base tonight and probably tomorrow as well, would be my expectation, versus a left-handed arm starting for the Colorado Rockies. So there's a lot of different questions as to what was the corresponding move going to be. It was Santiago Espinal that was designated for assignment. Espinal designated for assignment. He is no longer going to be part of the Los Angeles Dodgers organization, would be my guess. And there's a couple of different reasons for this that we can go ahead and talk about. First off, we can talk about it being a little bit of a surprise to some people, just because Espinal has had a little bit of success as of late. But let's look at the entirety of the body of work, because when we're talking about the Dodgers, I think they typically look for the entirety of body of work and then make assessments from there, and assessments of what they want to do long-term for this particular roster. So Espinal, when he joined the Los Angeles Dodgers out of spring training, it was for one very specific reason, and it was for that Kike Hernandez type of role. It was playing third base or playing other areas of the infield, specifically versus left-handed pitching. If we're talking about Kike Hernandez, he does pretty much the exact same thing, and my expectations would be that Kike Hernandez would basically fill in the exact same role that Espinal is doing, both in the regular season and during the postseason, meaning that similar to what we saw a little bit last year during the postseason, Max Muncy, especially during that Phillies series where they faced up against a couple of left-handed starting pitching, Max Muncy didn't start all of those games. A lot of those games went to Kike Hernandez, at least at the beginning before relievers were brought in, and then you have a left-handed power bat to be able to come off the bench, especially with some of the struggles that Max Muncy has had in the past against left-handed pitching. Kike Hernandez fills that role. He fills essentially the identical role that Espinal was filling. And since both of them fill the exact same identical role, I think it was very easy to go ahead and move off of Santiago Espinal, because Espinal essentially was a placeholder for a Kike Hernandez on this specific roster to be able to fill in. It was the exact same thing that likely would have happened when during the offseason, you remember, there was a player that the Dodgers had brought over, tried to sneak through waivers, didn't end up doing that. My guess is it would have been the exact same thing for that individual player right now. It's not Andujar. I don't know. Andy Ibanez would have been the player that it would have been the exact same role. A couple of different takeaways for Santiago Espinal. Then we'll go into the Espinal versus Kim type of conversation, why I think it was DFA'ing Espinal as opposed to Kim. We'll get into that in just a second. A couple of different takeaways with Espinal. One, this is pretty much the type of player that he has been over the past couple of years. You look at Espinal in his numbers the past couple of years, 2023 to 2025, he posted about a 71 WRC plus. This year for the Dodgers, it was about a 67. The expected results are fairly similar in being below league average. He's somebody that can help fill in a very particular role for a team, and I don't think he hit quite as well as the Dodgers were hoping versus left-handed pitching. And so the Dodgers looked at that, saw a little bit of underperformance on his part, or rather exactly kind of what they were expecting just based off the whole body of work, with perhaps a little bit of underperformance versus left-handed pitching, and decided to move off of that. Let's talk about Kim versus Santiago Espinal, because to say that Ha-Seong Kim has been struggling, I think would be absolutely a fair point, and perhaps a little bit of an understatement at this point based on what we've seen recently for Ha-Seong Kim, which led into some of the questions as to whether or not Ha-Seong Kim should have been optioned at this point. Let's review the numbers. First off, let's look at the first half of the season for Ha-Seong Kim. So if you go from the 5th of April through the 25th of April, this was his hot stretch to begin this season. He posted a 159 WRC plus with a 22% strikeout percentage. Basically a drop of about 8% in his strikeout percentage from what it had been the previous year, while posting a near 160 WRC plus at the beginning of the season. That was the reason, that was the stretch that allowed him to stay on this roster over somebody like an Alex Freeland who had some issues of his own that he's been working on. We'll get into an update on him in just a minute as well. However, since that stretch, again, April 5th through the 25th, about a 3-week stretch where Ha-Seong Kim was a 159 WRC plus player. Over the past 4 weeks, though, this has been where a lot of the issues have arisen. Through the 26th of April, from the 26th of April to the 24th of May, it's been a 38 WRC plus and a 25.7 strikeout percentage. You go back to the day that Alex Freeland was optioned, which was 2 weeks ago today, it's been a 24 WRC plus with a 32% strikeout percentage. It's been a struggle for Ha-Seong Kim getting back and getting going. So that led into some question with Ha-Seong Kim's struggles. Okay, why don't we go ahead and option Ha-Seong Kim down, give him every single day reps, let him to be able to reset, and just keep Espinal on the roster just so then we can keep some additional depth. Two different reasons. One, the role in which these guys are playing is very particular and very different. While they're both infielders, Espinal versus left-handed pitching, that was his role. Ha-Seong Kim versus right-handed pitching, that very much was his role. If you option Kim down at this point, you would have Kike as an infielder who hits right-handed. You would have Espinal as a right-handed hitting infielder. You would also have Miguel Rojas, who's a right-handed hitting infielder as well. That's 3 guys without a left-handed hitting platoon type of option that you could go ahead and utilize. You don't want Espinal to get a lot of plate appearances versus right-handed pitching. That's not where he has a ton of success. You also don't want somebody like Miguel Rojas hitting a ton versus right-handed pitching. I know he had the home run in Game 7 of the World Series, but typically speaking, he does not have a whole lot of success recently versus righties in comparison to what he can do versus lefties. So that left an opening where the Dodgers preferably would have had somebody who hits left-handed be able to fit in that specific type of role for this organization. Be a left-handed hitter, be able to play versus right-handed pitching without keeping too many of those different options. And then it comes to the overall aspect of development at the major league level, because this was something that I had talked about a couple of weeks ago with Ha-Seong Kim, and when you started to notice some of the trends of him struggling a little bit as of late is if you go back to his 2025 season, he started off incredibly hot. And then the second half of the season happened, and it was a massive struggle for Ha-Seong Kim. He has the opportunity, a very narrow opportunity, as we'll get into. He has an opportunity to try to make the adjustments that he could not make last year. And sometimes it takes time for you to be able to make those particular type of adjustments. Now, that being said, Ha-Seong Kim struggling a lot, striking out a lot right now. These are some of the things that he fell into last year and led him to being down the stretch not a great hitter and starting to see some of his numbers really take a dip. Overall on the season, it's an 87 WRC plus, right around the same level of overall production that we saw from somebody like an Alex Freeland, except with very different types of hot stretch at the beginning for Kim versus very extended cold stretch like we've seen recently. Alex Freeland was a little bit more intermittent with hot and cold throughout the course of it, especially cold at the beginning, and then a little bit better as the season went on. The point of this being is Ha-Seong Kim is kind of going through a lot of the same things that he went through last year. And at least for the next 2-ish weeks, he is going to have the opportunity to be able to make the adjustments he could not make last year. And this is going to be a big test for Ha-Seong Kim to be able to do so, because he is facing some pressure on this roster right now, not just from Alex Freeland, who's performing well at the minor league level, but also from Tommy Edman, who just announced tomorrow is going to be starting rehab assignment with Oklahoma City. It sounds like, according to David Vassay, the plan is going to be about 50-ish plate appearances at the minor league level for Tommy Edman, kind of similar to what happened with Kike Hernandez and his extended run back to going ahead and getting acclimated to swinging. So not the really fast acclimation for somebody like Mookie Betts, 2 games and back at the major league level. Sounds like this is going to be a 2 to 3 week type of process for Tommy Edman, making sure he checks all the individual boxes that he needs to, rehabbing with Oklahoma City to make sure he is good and ready to go. And once he is, there is no other roster spot aside from injury that Tommy Edman can take up with all the players that they have on their roster, aside from Ha-Seong Kim's. And that means that when Tommy Edman is back, assuming that there is not any type of injury, it is going to be Ha-Seong Kim's roster spot that Tommy Edman's going to be able to take up. So this is going to be an important test for Ha-Seong Kim, because not only is he going through a lot of the same things that he did last year, and he's wanting to be able to prove that he can go ahead and get out of that, but he also has to show this organization that even when it seems like a uphill battle as far as being able to retain a spot on the roster, even when it looks like, hey, I'm probably going to be sent down to the minor leagues at some time soon, he can still find a way to be able to put out good plate appearances and do everything he can to try to show the organization that he should be kept around. This is some of the challenges, these are some of the struggles that the Dodgers had when they went out and re-signed Kike Hernandez and Miguel Rojas, because you can't, when all of the roster is healthy, ready to go, you can't have guys like Ha-Seong Kim or an Alex Freeland on their roster, because when Tommy Edman is healthy, there's not going to be any room for both of them. Also, one other note about Santiago Espinal, I just want to kind of clarify, just because I think there is some question as to, okay, what about the depth of the infield and making sure you feel comfortable with the depth of infielders that you have on this roster going forward to allow you to be able to designate for assignment somebody like a Santiago Espinal. There's somebody down at the minor league level that the Dodgers brought in really under the radar that actually has been doing pretty well, right-handed bat, that I think the Dodgers actually, because of his play, kind of feel a little bit comfortable with going ahead and making this move. Tyler Fitzgerald. Now, I'm just saying this name out there, not as an expectation for him to be able to come onto this roster, but just to make sure that you guys know the totality of the depth of this organization so that it could potentially make sense why this move is made. Tyler Fitzgerald, former San Francisco Giant, back in 2024, put up a 3 wins above replacement season. He currently is on this Dodgers roster. He was formerly part of the Toronto Blue Jays, I believe designated for assignment, then traded over to the Dodgers. In 72 plate appearances in Oklahoma City, 152 WRC plus. Somebody who back in 2024 posted a 132 WRC plus at the major league level. I'm not saying that he's going to have an impact at the major league level, but he's optionable. He can keep down in Oklahoma City. You don't have to bring him up to the big leagues. And if something happens, let's say to Kike Hernandez, and you need a right-handed bat to be able to help fill in some of the holes that you have potentially on the infield, having somebody like a Tyler Fitzgerald as additional depth makes you a little bit more comfortable to make a move like designating for assignment Santiago Espinal. So, a couple of different reasons why this move is made. One, you have Kike Hernandez back healthy. That's the biggest thing. You have to have him on your roster if he is healthy, ready to go. Number two, with Espinal, he fills in basically the exact same role as Kike Hernandez. Number three, if you're investing plate appearances for the rest of the season, and your expectation is probably both of them are going to struggle a little bit, just based off of the numbers that both of them have had. Said you got Espinal, 67 WRC plus on the season. Kim, about an 87 WRC plus on the season, although it's closer to 40 over the past month or so. Both of them likely to struggle. You want to invest it and allow that investment to be done, especially if it's short term, and somebody that has a chance to stick on this roster long term, and that is Hae-Sung Kim. He also fills in a specific role that Espinal wouldn't have had the ability to be able to do so. I think those are some of the... And number four, you have enough depth at the minor leagues to where you don't really feel it at this point. So, really wish Espinal the best of luck going forward. This also, and I want to bring up this point, for us to reference going forward. Because Espinal, one of the big things that stood out about him, he was phenomenal in spring training. Sometimes spring training results don't tell us the full story, and rather the more important thing that we have to take a look at is the larger body of work, meaning it is very difficult to draw conclusions, especially with the inconsistencies of spring training, from a small 50 to 70 plate appearance sample size that we get from spring training against a wide variety of different pitchers, rather than the past couple of years' work, or maybe even looking at those specific stats as far as individual results, won't tell us the full story of what will happen going forward. Maybe Espinal turns it around with wherever he goes following this, but I think we have to be incredibly careful, and I think the Dodgers are incredibly careful about what takeaways we should have from spring training going forward, because there is a lot of people who are willing to declare Espinal the starting second baseman coming out of spring training because of the spring training stats that he had, and it didn't turn out to work out in that particular favor. I just want us to proceed with caution going forward on making drastic conclusions on that type of data, that type of information, because I want us to make the smart, right decisions going forward. Just a couple of things to keep an eye out for. Obviously wish the best for Espinal going forward and hope that he gets another opportunity to succeed wherever he goes. He's a professional. I know he took it like a professional today, even though this is incredibly disappointing news for him. Wish nothing but best to him, to his family, and I'll hope that he's able to find a lot of success going forwards. Dodgers are on a little bit of a roll. Really good road trip, 7-2 road trip for the Los Angeles Dodgers. They are back in Dodger Stadium taking on the Colorado Rockies. And with some of the news or some of the speculation that is going out there in the world of Dodgers baseball, I just want to take a little bit of a step back for just a minute and let's examine where this Dodgers team is at as a big picture type of mold. We are at the end of May. We are going to see the month of June happen. We have about a 2-month sample size, about a third of the way through the season. And coming up about a month from today, there's going to be a lot of different speculation, a lot of different ideas as to trades that could potentially happen for the Los Angeles Dodgers. And before we get into individual names, we're not going to get through a ton of individual names, although I will address Tarek Skubal just because he has been a topic of conversation because of the Detroit Tigers are going through massive struggles right now. I want to do a little bit of a holistic look on this Dodgers team and see just how well-rounded the team is, to talk about where potential areas of needs could be for this Dodgers team, if there are any needs that this Dodgers team has at this point. First off, let's look at the offense. That's where we're going to start off first. Just overall, I'm going to use just overall season numbers, give us the largest sample size we could have. The Dodgers have the best offense this year in the game of baseball. I know there's been a lot of concerns about the Dodgers offense over a several week type of stretch. They still have the best offense in the game of baseball. A 119 WRC plus. If you prefer batting average, they're third in baseball at 258. WRC plus, they're the best. They also have the 4th best power output as a team, 169 isolated power. There is a bit of a gap between them and the New York Yankees, who have a 191, Dodgers 169. Could be a little bit biased just because of the small park that the Yankees play in, and ISO is not an expected stat, it's based off of actual results. But the Yankees have been far and away the best power team in the league, but the Dodgers are still towards the top. And if you go to expected results, expected weighted on base average, the Dodgers are the best offense in the game of baseball based off of quality of contact. Expected weighted on base average, 353. Then second highest, which is the Yankees, 341. Third highest, 334. They're 19 points higher in expected weighted on base average than the third best offense in the game of baseball, which means that not only having a 119 WRC plus is good, but it also, I believe, is sustainable based off the quality of contact. They're drawing a lot of walks. They're top 4 in drawing walks. They are also one of the teams that strikes out the least in the bottom 10 or so in strikeout percentage as a team, meaning having number 6, the 6th lowest strikeout percentage in the game of baseball, which means a lot of the struggles that they have had in the past being a little bit too boom or bust type of team, they are not quite that so far this season. The offense has been good. And let's go ahead, when the Dodgers offense is healthy, let's also ask ourselves, how many of these guys are we wanting to make significant upgrades from, or can we make significant upgrades from? You're not going to upgrade Ohtani. You're not going to upgrade Tucker. You paid that much money to be able to do him. You're not going to upgrade Mookie Betts. I know he's struggling right now. Be patient with Mookie, and then once we have a little bit of a larger sample size, then we can talk about individual strategies to be able to help fix him. But he still has 6 years left on his deal after this year. You have to be patient with Mookie Betts. You're not going to be able to move off of him at all. Freddie Freeman, you're not going to want to move off of him. Andy Pages has been awesome. Max Muncy has been awesome. Teoscar Hernandez has made significant improvements. Will Smith has struggled a little bit this year, but some of the expected results for him still are solid, and I don't think you want to move off of him. And then that just leaves you second base as a potential option. But again, the Dodgers invested heavily with Tommy Edman at that position and have several different options surrounding him, which means that if you look at just the overall offense, there's not a whole lot of rooms for upgrade on this team in that particular area. You go over to the pitching side of things, and not only did the Dodgers have one of the best offenses in the game of baseball, they also have the second lowest earned run average in the game of baseball at 310. Second only to the Atlanta Braves that have a 304 ERA. Look at expected ERA, Dodgers top 3. FIP, Dodgers top 4. Expected FIP, Dodgers top 4. You look at Sierra, Dodgers top 5 in that aspect. You look at strikeout minus walk percentage, which that's a really good statistic because that talks a little bit about some of the balance between strikeouts and walks. And I think it's a better statistic than just the ratio because you want more strikeouts in the game of baseball. Dodgers second in the game in baseball and strikeout minus walk percentage at 16.7. The pitching has been awesome. The bullpen as of late, oh my goodness, how they not allowed many runs at all. They're going on a very extended scoreless streak, and this is without an Edwin Diaz. This is without recently a Jack Dreyer. They are using some of the guys, and they are building bullpen pieces to be high leverage type of arms. Casey and I had a little bit of debate when we were going through the offseason as far as the necessity for the Dodgers to bring in somebody like an Edwin Diaz. And part of my argument, which was a little bit against Edwin Diaz signing at that time, once you saw the terms of the deal, 3-year deal, became a little bit more pro it. But one of the things that I had talked about during that particular time is that the Dodgers have the ability and likely are going to have the ability to build bullpen pieces that can be really good, sustainable type of pieces. And you look at the Dodgers pitching staff in the bullpen, you look at what they've done with Will Klein, who is turning into a high leverage arm as we speak. 2.11 ERA, 261 expected ERA. The results are absolutely there for Will Klein. Edgardo Henriquez flying underneath the radar. Stuff is phenomenal. 124 WRC, 124 stuff plus, I should say, for Edgardo Henriquez. And it's not just the stuff being good. He's getting good results too. 326 ERA and a 255 expected ERA. Edgardo Henriquez has stepped up. Kyle Hurt has stepped up with a sub-1 ERA and a 189 expected ERA with a 24.6 strikeout minus walk percentage. Kyle Hurt, those three guys, Klein, Henriquez, and Kyle Hurt, are turning into high leverage right-handed relievers that you can use in a variety of different circumstances. And the Dodgers, because of some of the injuries that are happening right now, while it sucks to have Evan Phillips, it sucks to have Edwin Diaz, it sucks to have Brock Stewart and Brusdar Graterol all on the injured list. This is giving the Dodgers the opportunity to develop these guys to where you would feel a little bit more comfortable based off of recent events, putting these guys in more high leverage type of situations. Blake Treinen has been solid as of late. The expected ERA still is not great, but recent results have been much better for him. The Tanner Scott is lights out right now too. 125 ERA on the season, 276 expected ERA. He's turning into the version that the Dodgers paid for. The pitching is really good. And it's not just the starting pitching this year. It is also the bullpen. The bullpen has been the thing that has really shined as of late. And you still have Ohtani. You still have Yamamoto going out there pitching well. You are still getting contributions from a Robleski. You're getting contributions from a Sheehan and a Sasaki that's been much better. And you still have Glasnow and Blake Snell in the wings, and still have not called up River Ryan, who's working on building up his innings back. The pitching is really solid, and it is really deep. And then you get to go to other aspects in the game of baseball, because if the offense is one of the best in the game of baseball and the pitching is one of the best of the game of baseball, what potentially could be some of the Achilles heels for this team? First one that you could potentially look at is the defense. However, by defensive runs saved, the Dodgers are the second best defense in the game of baseball. By outs above average, exact same thing. By fielding run value, they're the third best defense in the game of baseball. All that to say, the Dodgers have one of the best fielding teams in the game of baseball right now, which means defense is not going to be an Achilles heel for the Dodgers at this point based off of the way that they are playing, which means you have a top 3 offense, a top 3 pitching staff, both starters and bullpen arms with the guys that they have, and you have a top 3 defense in the game of baseball. An incredibly well-rounded team that I think the only aspect that you could talk about with this team right now potentially being lacking, and go ahead and comment some other aspects in the game of baseball, is probably base running. Base running would be one of those aspects. You look at base running value, base running runs above average, taking into account stolen bases, caught stealing, and other aspects in the game of baseball. Dodgers are probably a top or bottom 10 team in base running. But I think with the other aspects in the game of baseball that they have, especially with the age that they have on this roster, that's kind of expected for this team. You're not going to have a ton of guys on this team that are very high in stolen base, but they're making up for that with the impact that they have on the field. The point that I'm trying to get with all of these different aspects is the Dodgers are an incredibly well-rounded team, well-rounded organization, and that allows you, if there are not things that pop up, if there are not injuries that pop up, to be opportunistic with your trade deadline type of acquisitions. Because the better and more well-rounded your team is, the more risks that you can take at the trade deadline. And that brings up the conversation about potentially the Dodgers going after somebody like a Tarek Skubal. Now, this is going to be fairly brief, but I'm going to lay down some criteria that, at least for me, would need to be met in order for this to be some type of possibility. Because let's be fair, if Glasnow is healthy, if Blake Snell is healthy, you would not have a need for Skubal on this roster. And really, with the amount of talent that the Dodgers have, they are already going to be heavy favorites to win the World Series. You already have that expectation for this club going forward. But that's not a guarantee. In the game of baseball, weird things happen. And for the past couple of years, if certain things don't go the Dodgers' way, the Dodgers very likely could have lost the World Series. If in 2024, Aaron Judge did not drop that ball in center field, or Garrett Cole, rather, would have covered first base, the Dodgers, there's a good chance, lose Game 5. And then you go back Game 6 and Game 7 with a depleted Dodgers starting pitching staff. And it's very much a question mark as to whether or not they would win that game, especially with the narrative starting to build about the Yankees being down 3-0 at that time, trying to get revenge on what was the biggest failure of them as a franchise back in 2004, going from being up 0-3 to losing a series versus Boston. With Dave Roberts as a manager for the Dodgers, there was going to be a lot of momentum for the Yankees going back to Dodger Stadium and trying to get revenge and win a World Series for them. For the Dodgers, Aaron Judge dropped that fly ball to center field. Garrett Cole did not cover first base. The rest is history. The Dodgers took advantage and won the World Series. Last year, all the craziness that happened in the World Series, a lot of things, if they went slightly different, could have led to the Dodgers losing that World Series. A lot of things and a lot of randomness happens in the game of baseball, and even if the Dodgers are heavy favorites to win, they still might want to look for whatever they can to try to help boost their odds, or rather shrink some of the odds of some of the other teams if they were to make a move like going out and trading for Skubal. So, all this to say, what are some of the criteria that I'm going to be looking at over the course of the next couple of weeks, couple of months, before this becomes a possibility, assuming that the Tigers are sellers and assuming that Skubal comes back and is healthy? A couple of different things I'm going to be looking out for. One, I don't want to see any new long-term type of injuries, or I won't say new, just no long-term type of injuries, concerns, non-starting pitching that would be impactful for this team. Meaning, if somebody like a Max Muncy is down long term, and now you have to address third base, well then that has to be the area that you have to address. You have to use your resources for that, rather than looking for some potential type of upgrade for a Skubal. So, if there's no type of long-term injury, that's one of the check marks that you can go ahead and check. Number 2, you want to have a well-rounded club. Now, the Dodgers already have a well-rounded club. If you have good offense, if you have good pitching, if you have good defense, meaning there's not a lot of, and with pitching, that includes starting pitching and bullpen, there's not a whole lot of areas that you have to address. That means you can go after a luxury type of talent. That means that you have potentially the ability to be able to make those luxury, because you're not addressing needs, you're addressing what you can do to make this roster as good as possible. Number 3, you have sufficient depth at your major league roster before and after the trade. Meaning, what I don't want the Dodgers to do is trade a ton of their major league pieces away for this move to take place, and then something happens, and now you don't have a whole lot of depth to be able to go ahead and fall back on. I think this is some of the potential flaws that you saw, especially early in the season, for a team like the Philadelphia Phillies, where if there's a couple of injuries that take place, all of a sudden you're dealing with a severe lack of depth in that specific area. It's one of the issues that I have, particularly with like the Padres with their starting pitching, is if there's a couple of injuries that take place, all of a sudden your depth is you don't have as much depth. You want to make sure you don't give up all of your potential depth that you would have, that you might need over the course of the next couple of months to be able to help with this run. Number 4, it has to be a significant upgrade to improve your postseason roster to make this type of investment. Skubal is one of the best pitchers in the game of baseball. He would even on this Dodgers roster check that type of box, even if you have to be a little bit creative of what you do with one of the other starters that is on this mix. Number 5 would be the necessity to win with this current roster. If it is a need to win with this current roster, and you have a good, well-rounded club and the ability to be able to go ahead and win, then you can go ahead and go for a luxury type of talent. Number 6, sustainability of the farm system to make upgrades in the future. This is going to be the one that's the most questioned, not because the Dodgers don't have a good farm system, not because the Dodgers can't build good farm system, but some of the choices that the Dodgers have strategically made over the past couple of years, going ahead and signing Roki Sasaki for all their international bonus pool money, signing both Kyle Tucker and Edwin Diaz, both guys with the qualifying offer, and sacrificing draft picks this upcoming year and bonus pool money that you're able to allocate is going to impact your farm system. This eventually comes back to limit the ability of what you can do, and it doesn't matter how good you are at scouting, it doesn't matter how good you are at developing, this likely is going to come back at the Dodgers at some point. So the question is, do the Dodgers have the ability to be able to sustain this farm system enough to get resources in the future and make sure that they can continue this run through the entirety of the Shohei Ohtani type of era? Or is this going to take too much out of the system while also preventing you to be able to have sustainable, good farm systems to add upgrades to this roster through the entirety of the run? That's going to be a good question, internal battle within the organization of whether they want to do. Just going through some of these options again. For a luxury type of trade, looking for no long-term injury type of concerns in other areas. Number 2, well-roundedness as a club. You want to make sure there's no other holes on this team. Number 3, sufficient depth before and after the trade. So then if injuries arise, you're not scrambling and running into poor situations. Number 4, significant upgrade. Number 5, necessity to win now with this roster. And number 6, no long-term concerns to the overall structure of the farm system. If all 6 of those are met by the time we get to the trade deadline type of scenario, and the Dodgers are looking at potentially adding somebody of that type of caliber to this club, I think the Dodgers have a decent shot of potentially being able to pull that trigger. Even though they don't have to, if it just improves their odds just that much more of winning 3 World Series championships, even as a rental, I think it becomes a real possibility for the Los Angeles Dodgers. We'll keep an eye out for this. Again, we're looking at big picture, long-term things for this organization to be able to go ahead and take a look at, or some of the things that are going to be watched. Some of the areas currently on this team that I'm looking to be able to watch, couple of power bats off the bench, or a power bat off the bench. These are potential other options or other areas of need that the Dodgers could go ahead and search for. Just here sitting at the end of May, there's not a whole lot of power coming off this bench. You have Dalton Rushing, who is a power bat, left-handed power bat. You don't really have that right-handed power bat, though, aside from maybe a Kike Hernandez. If he can hit for a little bit of power, perhaps he could be that type of option. But Miguel Rojas, I say this, and he hit the home run in Game 7 of the World Series, sound kind of foolish. But for a Miguel Rojas, he's not really a power bat. Alex Call is not really a power bat as well. You might look to see if there's a right-handed power bat that you potentially could use off the bench. But then again, there'd be really no room to put him on the Major League roster for the rest of the regular season, aside from maybe optioning somebody like an Alex Call, who would probably be the last guy that you could potentially option aside from Andy Pages. So maybe that just becomes an area where you feel comfortable with where you're at right now. There's always bullpen help. If there are long-term injuries that you're concerned about, if Brock Stewart does not come back healthy, if Jack Dreyer takes a little bit longer than what is anticipated from him, or as other injuries arrive, obviously, bullpen is one of those areas that you want to address. Make sure that everything is good. As long as the Dodgers have a lot of different pitching options that they can use, I think they'll be fine. I think they will probably look at this aspect. Easiest thing to say for teams at the trade deadline, but I don't think they're going to vastly overpay for a bullpen type of piece. And then maybe another left-handed hitter off the bench, although they have a couple of different options. Dalton Rushing is obviously the main one. And even if somebody like down at the minor leagues, like a Jackson Winsky keeps on hitting, perhaps he could be an option during a postseason type of series, type of run that you can keep around on this team for just a particular matchup. Although with the Dodgers, there's not really a whole lot of pinch hit type of opportunities, platoon type of opportunities that you look for on this team. So maybe it's increased speed to be able to have on this bench for the Dodgers going ahead and having a little bit long term. Those are some aspects to keep an eye out for right now. Again, every single time that the Dodgers can go out there and have a lot of success, the more well-rounded that they can be, I think that increases the opportunity for them to potentially go out and make a luxury type of trade. You have to be well-rounded at the major leagues and the minor leagues, and that allows you to be opportunistic. That's my entire point with this. Is the Dodgers have the ability to be opportunistic because of the success that they are having at the major league level. Let's get into a couple of the questions that we have right here before I get into a little bit of talk at the minor league level before we finish off this show. Good afternoon, Sammy Boy Smith. Roy Estrada surprised by the Dodgers let Espinal go, but they know best. Go Dodgers. Addressed that a little bit at the beginning of the show. Showtime LA, awesome news and latest batch of injury updates. Phillips and Stewart close to rehab assignments. Really good news right there, Evan Phillips, Brock Stewart. Yeah, that goes back into that point of the Dodgers, I don't think are going to overpay for bullpen arms because they have so many different options that they could turn to if they come back healthy, which means they're going to wait as long as possible to see if they're going to go ahead and come back healthy at that point. One other note I want to point out it with this during this portion of the show. We talked a little bit about Kim and Espinal. Just want to provide a little bit of an update with Alex Freeland, particularly in the heart zone. The reason why Alex Freeland struggled so much at the major league level is because he was swinging and missing in the heart zone. Heart zone completely inside the strike zone. It is the portion of the zone where most of the damage is done at the major league level. It's not directly right down the middle, but it's directly in the zone. Alex Freeland was whiffing at those pitches at about a 26-27% at the major league level. One of the worst whiff percentage in that zone, which was not what he had done in his past. Goes down to AAA the past 2 weeks. That whiff percentage is back down to 15%. That has basically stabilized from what it had been in the past. Essentially, the theory was, as soon as that gets right, we're going to start to see a productive Alex Freeland again, and that's what we're seeing right now. Not to say that he's going to be called up, because the limited amount of time that Tommy Edman, until he's going to come back, I don't expect to see Alex Freeland sometime soon, but it's good to see him getting right, and that could be somebody to keep an eye out for going forward. If there are injuries, or if the Dodgers are potentially looking to make some type of trade, perhaps Alex Freeland's name gets into that conversation just because of the limited amount of roles that he has with this team for this year and potentially going forward as well. A couple of other notes. Edwin Diaz also starting the throwing progression tomorrow. Yeah, lots of different good news coming out of the Dodgers bullpen going forward. JC Gonzalez, good afternoon to you as well. Happy Memorial Day. Good afternoon, Austin. Emil Morales has had a little bit of a rough transition for Great Lakes. What do you see so far? Yeah, Emil Morales, for those of you who don't know, this past week got promoted up to high Great Lakes. Still 19 years old. Really young kid at the level. Mike Sirota, who was at Great Lakes, got promoted to Tulsa. A bunch of different moves throughout the organization. With Morales, it was a struggle this week. A lot of swing and miss in his game. A lot of pitchers were sequencing different pitches really well. They were attacking him a lot, especially with slider type cut pitches, low and outside the zone, and then being able to tie him up inside with upper 90s heat or just good elevated velo up in the zone. Got a lot of swing and miss for Emil Morales. Those type of pitches and the ability for high A pitchers to execute at a more consistent level than low A pitchers are able to are going to be part of the adjustment that Emil Morales is going to have to go ahead and fight through. I think there is just more execution with those type of pitches that he was just not as ready for at this point. Still a lot of time to be able to progress, and they're going to give them the time to be able to develop. We'll get into Great Lakes in just a minute. Also, Zazueta has been said to have similar fastball to Brian Wu with low arm slot, but high induced vertical break. Seems like our best starting pitcher. So Christian Zazueta. I got the chance to be able to see him on Friday, I believe is what it was. Los Pepinillos Gigantes del Norte night. Zazueta is awesome. Zazueta is a really good pitcher within the Dodgers organization. Take the time to be able to watch Christian Zazueta. Really high strikeout rate. Good command on his pitches, too. He's got a really good, unique mix, and I don't have any of the metrics back on him, so I won't address that type of comment, but if that is true, we've seen Brian Wu go ahead, put himself in the big leagues, have a decent career, hoping for the same for a Christian Zazueta. Like the background, Sammy Boy Smith. Yeah, thanks. I got the Loons posters in the background that we have. This year's one is actually off to my right. No, that is not a Goonies poster. That is the Loonies poster. If you talk to John Vicari, play-by-play broadcaster for the Great Lakes Loons, this is one that we actually made and actually gifted him. He actually has one hanging up in his office right now at Dow Diamond. Just a fun, unique posters that we have that we create every single year. Loons never say die. Let's see. Roy Estrada talking a little bit about Jackson Ferris. Yeah, he's still going through a lot of progression. Is going to be a little bit for him. River Ryan would be that next starting pitcher that we have coming up. Craig Osterberg, good evening to you as well. Random Hero, Noah Miller, shout out. Noah Miller's been really good, and his defense. There was a really good double play that both him and Freeland turned for Oklahoma City the other day. He also has been hitting a decent amount this year. So Noah Miller, shout out to Noah Miller. Very well could be one of those guys that could be an option with how good of a defensive player that he is. I think his defense, if he puts in just enough offense on there, he's going to be a big league player. That is going to be the thing. Let's see. Kike Hernandez is back tonight. Let's go. Absolutely. I don't know if that's Coach Barracroft right there. But there's a lot of people that are excited about Kike Hernandez making it to the big leagues. Sammy Boy Smith. Max Muncy is the best third baseman this year. That's not named Jose Ramirez. He's been awesome. Miguel Vargas also has been somebody that has been really good for the Chicago White Sox this year. Shout out to Miguel Vargas. I know a lot of people want the Dodgers, fans of the Dodgers, want the Dodgers to win every single trade, which means that the players that they trade away don't end up turning out to be good. I want the players that come throughout this organization, I want those players to be some of the best players in the game of baseball. And when they do, even if it is not with the Dodgers, as long as the Dodgers are having some success, I'll be very, very happy for those players. Even if the Dodgers are struggling, I'll still be happy for those players because they're still human beings that I've had the chance to be able to get to know. But Miguel Vargas going out there and having a lot of success helps the Dodgers because it shows that the Dodgers go out there and can produce really good players. And that is something that is recognized by the industry. And I know a lot of people over the past couple of years have had concerns about the Dodgers hitting development. I think the Dodgers hitting development and what other organizations think about it speaks volumes because I think they know a lot more than what we do. But Max Muncy, one of the best third basemen in the game of baseball this year. Miguel Vargas, though, also one of the best third basemen in the game of baseball. Let's see. Random Hero, you could talk me into trading for Yordan Alvarez and sliding him in at second. I don't think he's going to be playing at second base, but he is a great bat. That's one where I just don't see the roster fit being able to make that work on this team. I think there will be other teams, other luxuries that the Dodgers could go ahead and go ahead and trade. JC Gonzalez, I don't think the Pirates are going to trade Paul Skeens this year. It's not yet. The hole in this offense isn't at the number 2 spot. Just be patient. I think Kyle Tucker, he's at a 120 WRC plus so far this season. If he bumps that up to 130, 140 like he has over the past couple of years, which is not impossible, if he goes out there, has a little bit more success, he can very easily attain that type of spot and be a high walk, low strikeout type of hitter to help contribute. You're going to have a really good number 2 hitter at that spot. I just think that with the overall aspect of this team, I think the offense is good. the one person that would be a little bit of a question that has fit in at the number 2 position a lot that you would hope would get better soon is Mookie Betts. But again, it's only been a little bit of games for Mookie Betts. I'm still preaching patience, but we'll wait and see what happens with him. Random hero, Kendall George for a postseason roster spot. Now that would be fascinating because you're talking about specific holes on this team. One of the areas potentially would be speed. Kendall George would be able to provide that. And even if it's not you are going there to steal bases, rather it's you are going to pinch run and go out there and find different ways to be able to score from first when a ball is in the gap pretty easily. Find ways to be able to, on singles, be able to score pretty easily. Kendall George has game-changing type of speed. I don't think he's eligible for the Rule 5 draft after this year. It might be the year after that. So I don't think this would be the move, but it's not impossible. I will say out of all the different options as far as outfield prospects, I think it probably is Kendall George that is probably the most likely, maybe second to somebody like a James Tibbs III, just for his power and proximity to the major leagues. But I wouldn't be 100% shocked if they do something crazy like that to be able to get him to the game for one specific aspect where the Dodgers are not elite at, and that's speed, and that is base running. Let's see. Which of the names are you losing the least amount of sleep about in a Skubal trade? Hope, Quintero, Soroto, Davlin, or Tibbs? I'm not going to rank those guys. All of them are great. If you're talking about losing the least amount of sleep for, I think, rather, I'm going to phrase it this way. The Tigers, I don't think, are looking to do a complete rebuild, which means the closer they are to being productive at the major league level, I think those are some of the guys that they're going to probably want back in return, which leaves open not as the centerpiece of the deal, but as an additive piece. I wouldn't be surprised, unfortunately, another trade for him if somebody like James Tibbs III is part of that deal just because of his proximity to the major league level and being able to help Tigers teams going forward. Long-term, cost-controlled type of piece. There would have to be other pieces in that deal as well, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's one of those players that is part of that. Let's see. Continuing with this, production out of the 2-hole isn't just Mookie, Tucker, and Freeman also struggle there. Yeah, well, and I don't think it's just necessarily because it's the number 2-hole, although we'll wait and see what exactly goes on with that. I think they have enough players to be able to fill in that type of role to where I'm not completely shocked at that. Let's get into this. Douglas Anderson, Austin, we would have to give up all of our prospects to rent him. Is he really a Dodger? Would he fit? Would he mix with our roster? Those are really good questions to have. One, because he is a rental, I don't think it's going to require the entirety of prospects. Although one thing to note about Scott Harris, general manager of the Detroit Tigers, is one, he's late to make deals. He will go right into the very last deadline. And number two, he is very demanding on some of the returns that he expects for his players. So while it's a rental, I still expect it to be a lot, but I don't think it is we're getting rid of all of our top guys in order to get a Tarek Skubal, because it is just half a year of Skubal, and I think everybody knows that the Tigers are likely not going to extend Skubal at this point, even though you're starting to see it turns out the Tigers team kind of needs Skubal in order to be a successful type of team. But I don't think it is and when you're talking about fit, I've seen him past couple of years at the playoffs. He is a competitor. He wants to win desperately. I think he would fit right in to this type of Dodgers team, and I wouldn't have any type of concern about that. Let's considering into a couple of these. Love seeing Miguel Vargas making it happen in the north side. Absolutely with that. Let's see. Continuing into these, how long do we stay with Betts in this lineup? Betts will stay in this lineup for next several of years. He's going to be a Los Angeles Dodger. The Dodgers paid him long term to be a Dodger, and so they're going to do whatever they can to make sure that he is in this lineup and that they're going to give him a long runway to be able to have. He has had a long track record of being a successful MiLB hitter, and we can't give up on guys because they are struggling to start the season. Even though last year was not the success that you were looking for Mookie Betts, we have to be patient with some of these guys, especially the guys that you're paying long-term type of deals to. I get it. The Dodgers signed him to a long-term deal, and now he's struggling, and there's concerns that there's going to be regression long-term with Mookie Betts. Just be patient a little bit with this process. And if we need to go ahead and have a conversation, we will have that conversation, but not yet. Just be patient with some of this process, especially if the Dodgers are winning and the Dodgers still have the best offense in the game of baseball. Let's get into some of the next topic of conversation. First off, Green is faster than Kim. We don't need Kim anymore because he's struggling to be able to hit. Yes, but you also want to, in case there becomes a time where Kim needs to go ahead and hit, you would feel a lot more comfortable right now. Not saying long term, but right now, with Ha-Seong Kim getting a major league plate appearance than Kendall George getting a major league plate appearance. Not because Kendall George couldn't handle it, but because there's hurdles that he hasn't gone through that Kim has gone through, and Kim has shown the ability to head to the major league level before rather than a Kendall George. Again, I'm not saying this is a immediate go ahead and make that type of switch, nor am I saying that a Kendall George couldn't possibly find some sort of way to be able to fit him onto this roster for the postseason is what I'm saying. But it's a not yet. Just wait for this process. V-Track talking about being patient has been over 2 years. It was last year where he was about a league average type of hitter, and this year Mookie Betts has been a below league average type of hitter. When you're talking, and there are reasons in which you could realistically say with Mookie Betts last year as to potentially some of the struggles that he was dealing with. This year potentially could be one of those things where you start to have real questions, but not after the small amount of plate appearances that he's been giving. Not just after, I believe it's 60-some plate appearances. It's 83 plate appearances that he has. Talk to me when it is 200, 250 type of plate appearances for Mookie Betts, and then we can start having real type of conversations, especially with Mookie Betts. His expected weighted on base average this year is 342. I think some of the results are going to start stabilizing for Mookie Betts to where 342 expected weighted on base average is a above league average type of result. That puts you in line with about a 110 WRC plus. The reason why I'm preaching patience with Mookie Betts is, one, he's a Hall of Fame type of player. We have seen it before in the past with him. And the Dodgers are paying like they expect that out of him, which could lead you into saying we expect more out of him. But it also could lead you to saying he has done this in the past. We think that he can be this type of player going forward. So just be patient with him and see what happens going forward. All right, let's go ahead and get into the next topic of conversation. And this goes into the minor league section before we go ahead and wrap it up, as the Dodgers pregame show is happening, game starting in about 40 minutes. I want to talk a little bit about the minor leagues right now. And rather than talking about individual players today, I want to talk about where the 4 affiliate teams are at. So, just want to talk overall structure with the minor league baseball. Minor league baseball is structured very differently than the major leagues. With the major leagues, you have the overall standings, and playoffs are decided based off of the finality of the regular season. After 162 games, all 162 games are counted towards deciding a playoff spot. With minor league baseball, it's very different. With the interchangeability of different rosters, minor league baseball structures the season into a first half and a second half. And winners of the first half and winners of the second half earn playoff spots. Which means if you have a really good team in the first half, but a not so good team in the second half, you can still be rewarded by what you did in the first half as an overall team. And you look at the overall schedule with minor league baseball, over the next 3 to 4 weeks, playoff spots are going to be decided at the minor league level. Now, why am I talking about minor league playoffs? Who cares about minor league playoffs? They don't impact the Los Angeles Dodgers. That's where I think you have to understand the culture of the Los Angeles Dodgers to understand why this is important to them, because player development at the minor league level is not just about improving certain skill sets for minor league players. That is incredibly important and probably the most important aspect they could do. Acquire talent and be able to help develop their individual skill sets so they can be utilized at the major league level. However, the Dodgers uniquely, or at least more vocally, I should say, preach that they want to not just develop the individual skill sets, they want to go ahead and improve and teach players to become winning baseball players, which means that they value winning at the minor league level, and they preach about that more than most other organizations do. Which means it matters to the Los Angeles Dodgers whether they are winning in Great Lakes, whether they're winning in Ontario, Tulsa, and Oklahoma City. Not because that's going to make an impact directly to the Los Angeles Dodgers, but because that's going to build a culture of winning. That's going to teach players how to go ahead and win. It's going to put them in environments, in situations that is going to be experienced, that's going to help better them going forward and make them more comfortable in those type of moments, even though those moments are small in comparison to the grandiose of Major League Baseball playoffs. They still are important in development, and the Dodgers care about winning at the minor league level because it helps develop winning baseball players, not just good baseball players, good winning baseball players. This matters to this organization more than it does to some of the others, or at least they are more vocal about doing so more than some of the others do. And the Dodgers at the minor league level are having a lot of success. Just overall, including complex and the affiliates, a 110-88 record. That is the third highest winning percentage among all major league organizations. And this comes from a Dodgers team that doesn't draft very high. This comes from a Dodgers team that has given up a lot of international bonus pool money. They still find ways to win at the minor league level. Their offense overall at the minor leagues has a 111 WRC+. That's the second best mark in the minor leagues. They have a 370 on base percentage. Collectively, that's first in minor leagues, 223 home runs, fourth in all of minor leagues as an offense. The Great Lakes Loons, their high A affiliate, have the third highest strikeout rate in all of minor league baseball among affiliate teams. And number one is the Jupiter Hammerheads. Number two, Hudson Valley Renegades. Number three is the Great Lakes Loons with a 29.8 strikeout percentage as a team. The Dodgers value winning, and over the next couple of weeks, there are opportunities for all four of their affiliates to earn postseason roster spots, which might not matter to you, but it matters a lot to this organization. And if it matters a lot to this organization, it matters a lot to us here at Dodgers Daily. So let's talk a little bit about that, because all four affiliates have a shot to be able to go ahead and win the playoffs. First off, let's start off the upper levels. We'll go Oklahoma City, Tulsa. We'll skip Great Lakes at first, and we'll go to Ontario, then we'll end in Great Lakes. Let's start with Oklahoma City. Oklahoma City, the Comets, after starting off a little bit rough, has gone on a little bit of a hot streak recently. Won 8 of the last 10 games. They, in the Pacific Coast League, have a 28-22 record. They are only a game and a half out of first place from the first place Sacramento River Cats. And if Oklahoma City can keep it within a game and a half over the next couple of weeks, June 16th through June 21st, Oklahoma City versus Sacramento potentially could be fighting for a playoff spot. And if Oklahoma City can keep it within a game and a half, keep it within 2 games, Oklahoma City would need to win 4 out of 6 in a 6-game series, and they would be the first half playoff representative in the Pacific Coast League. Oklahoma City right in the mix of going out there and earning a playoff spot. Let's move up to Tulsa. Tulsa is currently 2 games back of the Arkansas Travelers in the Texas League North Division. They have give me just a second to be able to pull up the records for Tulsa. They currently have a 26-19 record. It's basically going to be them or Arkansas at this point going forward in the Texas League to be able to go ahead and decide who's going to represent the North in the first half playoff spot. They're fighting for a playoff spot. A lot of this club was a club that came from Great Lakes last year. They fought both halves last year, ended up coming up short. They're looking for a little bit of redemption to get into the postseason for the first time. Guys like Josue DePaula, Zaire Hope, Kendall George, Mike Sirota now is looking for a little bit of redemption from last year. A large part of that pitching staff, they're looking to find different ways to be able to earn their way into the postseason. They're 2 games back of Arkansas. They're going to have to find different ways to win, though, because there is no head-to-head matchups remaining with Arkansas. They're going to have to find ways to win without winning head-to-head with the Arkansas Travelers. But just 2 games back, very much right in the race. Both Oklahoma City and Tulsa right in the race. If you're in Oklahoma, go watch those games because those teams are fighting for playoff spots over the next couple of weeks. Both of those seasons, the first halves, will end on June 21st, less than a month. 4 weeks from yesterday is when those first halves will end. They're fighting for playoff spots. Let's skip Great Lakes. We'll talk about them last. I have a lot of thoughts about Great Lakes. Let's talk about Ontario. The Ontario Tower Buzzers had a good week this week, winning 4 out of 6 against Inland Empire. Ontario is just 2 games back of the California League South Division. Their first half ends on the 18th of June. They're behind both Lake Elsinore and Rancho Cucamonga. The last 9 games of the first half for Ontario is 6 versus Lake Elsinore and 3 versus Rancho Cucamonga. If they can keep it close and they go on a run at the end of the season, you potentially could see Ontario having a path to win and earn a playoff spot in the first half. All 3 of Oklahoma City, Tulsa, and Ontario currently in holes, but within reach of being able to earn playoff spots. And that leads us to the team that is most likely at this point to represent the Dodgers organization in the first half. If there was a team, this would probably be the team that you would bet on just because they're in position right now to be able to earn a playoff spot. Great Lakes, the high A affiliate of the Los Angeles Dodgers, is in first place in the Midwest League East Division. They currently have a 3-game lead over the Dayton Dragons. And the reason why I saved them for last is because if there is a series to watch in minor league baseball this week, if you are a fan of the Dodgers organization, there is no more important series in the Dodgers organization than Great Lakes versus Dayton. Because Great Lakes currently has a 3-game lead over the Dayton Dragons, and now they travel to Dayton to try to go ahead and put themselves in great position to earn a playoff spot this year, the first playoff spot since 2023. They are fighting for that this week. Great Lakes has 23 games left to go. Dayton 21. Essentially, the stakes of this series couldn't be more. They could be more extreme, but in this type of environment, they are massive for both teams because neither one of these teams can afford to lose this series. Dayton is 3 games back. If they lose this series, they'll be 5 games back with 15 to go. Not completely impossible. We saw Great Lakes make up 7.5 games with a similar type of deficit with 13 games to go, I believe is what they had. It would not be impossible for Dayton, but it would be very difficult for them to be able to make up that type of ground. If they lost the series, they'd be at least 5 games back. If they lose 4 or 5 games, if they lose 5 games, they'd be 7 games back. If they get swept, they'll be 9 games back in the division. With Great Lakes, they also cannot afford to lose this series. And the reason why, even though if they lose this series, they'll still be a game up, Dayton would have the tiebreaker. And if you look at the final couple of series that Great Lakes has, they have Lansing at home, but their final 11 games potentially are at Wisconsin, really good club, and versus Lake County, who is looking to sneak around and still be part of the standings. Don't count out Lake County at this point. They're still a really good club. Great Lakes can't afford that, especially with Dayton. They have West Michigan, one of the worst teams in minor league baseball to this point of the year. They've got Fort Wayne, and they've got Peoria. Very handable schedule for Dayton. Great Lakes has a more tough schedule, meaning that they have to at least get a split in this series, and then they have to perform well against two teams that they struggled. And if they split the series, Dayton's got the tiebreaker. All different stuff is happening at this point of the season. Great Lakes is looking to earn a playoff spot, but a lot of that is going to be decided by the most important series of the first half, Great Lakes and Dayton. If Great Lakes wins this series, they're going to be in great position to earn a playoff spot, or at least put them in a situation where they're going to be in a good position. They could stumble down the stretch, but they can put themselves in a really good position. If Dayton wins this series, however, they will have a chance to be able to earn redemption for something that happened 4 years ago. You remember 4 years ago, we talk about those all the time with a person in the Dodgers organization, former Loons manager Austin Chubb. Great Lakes was basically in the same position that Dayton was a couple of years ago. And Great Lakes made up 8.5 games in 2 weeks. Dayton has not really been the same ever since that moment. Dayton has a chance at redemption versus Great Lakes, but they have to win this series. Great Lakes, they have a chance to earn a spot back in the postseason, but they have to win this series, or at the very least split the series, and then they have to beat a really good Wisconsin team on the road, and they have to win games against Lake County. Really high stakes this week. Great Lakes Loons at Dayton. Two teams that have been rivals over the past couple of years, fighting it for Midwest League East Division first half championship. Not completely decided, but going to be heavily impacted by what happens this week. That is the most important series of the Dodgers organization this week. If Great Lakes does well, you could potentially see at least one of the teams being in good position to earn a playoff spot. And again, winning actually matters at the minor league level for this organization because it helps build winning baseball players. And for Emil Morales, for Eduardo Quintero, for Chuck Davlin, for a Zach Root, for a Christian Zazueta, for all these different type of players, it's a really good shot in a relatively high pressure type of environment in front of sellout crowds consistently this week, 7,500 to 8,000 every single game in Dayton. Going to be a great opportunity for them to go out and show themselves this week of how talented they are and find different ways to win when they need to. Going to be a fun series. Tonight, the Los Angeles Dodgers are going up against the Colorado Rockies. A little bit less, I would say more pressure because it's at the major leagues, but also the Dodgers are in a really good position to go up against the Colorado Rockies this week. Should be a fun week. Eric Lauer is going to get the start tomorrow. Just one note about Colorado. They have the worst offense against left-handed pitching. I believe they as a team have a 68 WRC plus against lefties this year. So it should be a good introduction to Eric Lauer, at least a soft launching point for him against a Rockies offense that has struggled against left-handed pitching this year, or at least you hope that is the case. Emmett Sheehan going to get the start tonight. Eric Lauer is going to get the start coming up on Tuesday, and then I believe it's Shohei going to get the start on Wednesday. Should be a fun series at Dodger Stadium. If you have the chance, go to Dodger Stadium. If you don't have the ability to go to Dodger Stadium, highly recommend checking out the affiliates. If you're in Ohio, go check out Dayton this week for Great Lakes versus Dayton. If you're in Oklahoma, I believe Casey's going to be checking out some Tulsa games this week. Go check out the games that we have there. If you're in California, go check out the Ontario Tower Bezzers, wherever they are playing, because we want to make sure that we support these guys and help be part of the process and building winning baseball players by creating a good environment for them to be able to help with their morale, help with the environment that they have, to just help with the process of developing and winning. I think that's going to do it here. Dodgers is part of the Dodgers Daily Network. Game starting in about 25 minutes. So I highly recommend, and I know you guys are going to turn on the Dodgers game in just a minute. As far as shows for the rest of this week, at least for Casey and I and what the plan is going forward, I believe this week, Thursday at 3:30 Pacific, I believe is what the time that we have right now. Casey and I planning on going live. He actually is going to be in Tulsa when that show is happening, so I will be kind of running some of the background type of shows while Casey is in Tulsa on assignment at the stadium. Should be a fun show, back and forth. He'll get some on-ground reporting from Tulsa, and then on Saturday, going to be an early morning show on Saturday. It's going to be at 8 a.m. Pacific time, early morning. Casey and I are going to be able to go live. That is the plan for right now. We will try to let you guys know if there are any changes to that type of plan. But thank you so much for the support that you have here for me, for Dodgers Daily as a whole. We can't thank you guys enough for the contributions that you have, for the comments that you have. Check out the Dodgers game. It should be a fun game as the Dodgers go ahead and play against the Colorado Rockies. Not in Colorado, but in Dodger Stadium. Until next time, though, thank you for tuning in. God bless. And it's a great day to be a Dodger.